Ryan could only take so much of the smell of pumpkins, and Linda had been carving one a day for 2 weeks. He tried to tell her that the people smashing the pumpkins she bought every day were going to do it as long as she kept putting one out every night. Ryan even joked that it was the people selling her the pumpkins who were destroying them, and were only going to keep doing it as long as she kept buying them. Linda, however, wouldn't take that for an answer. It was a matter of principle for her. She would not be bullied, and would carve a pumpkin every day until Halloween, if that was what it took. Dealing with Linda and her pumpkins was one thing, but an entire morning of hearing her talking to her girlfriend on the phone about the imagined vendettas against her were a little much. There was no room in the house that allowed escape from it either, not with the rotary phone's extra long cord. She even wrote to the WhisperAlleyEchos, seeking their advice, but their response was not what she wanted. She wanted to be told that she was right, and that someone had a thing against Halloween. Needing a break from the conspiracy, Ryan would go to the garage to tinker with his '87 Mazda 626 Turbo, or keep himself busy with chores outside, mostly mowing the lawn one last time before the snow and winterizing the four-wheeler. The days turned into weeks, and Ryan was surprised just how much a pumpkin a day ended up costing him. What saved Ryan on most of these days was Linda's afternoon jogs around the lake. Since the pumpkins, Ryan only felt like he could be in the house when his wife was gone, and that made him a little sad. Whatever was going on with Linda, it was just a phase. Halloween would be the last time he would have to worry about the pumpkins. On most days, when Ryan had time to himself, he would turn on the TV, but today, his '87 Mazda was going to finally be road ready. He was really hoping that all the tinkering he'd been doing, which was keeping the car off the road for most of the summer, was going to increase the zip exponentially. A little over an hour after leaving for her jog, Linda returned and went to the garage where Ryan was listening to his favorite music so she could speak to him and be heard. She said that she was on her way to take a shower and felt like renting a movie that night after the two of them went out to eat, suggesting Moe's Bar. Later, after Linda and Ryan got showered and dressed, they went into town in the Mazda Ryan was proud to show off. Even though Moe's Bar didn't have a dance floor, the young married couple danced and ate the night's special, meatloaf sandwiches, mashed potatoes with gravy, and mac and cheese and peas. When they were finished eating, they had lost track of time and realized that it was too late to rent a movie. Figuring since both of them had friends of theirs at Moe's, the couple stayed in order to catch up. Ryan was drinking, and if Linda didn't intervene when she did, loading Ryan into the truck, he wouldn't have been able to stand up on his own feet for another hour. During the drive back to the house, Linda wanted someone to talk to, but Ryan nodded off. In the middle of talking about how she traded shifts and was off the next day, Linda slammed on the brakes, waking Ryan up. "You saw that, right?" Linda shouted, pointing to the end of the driveway. "I wasn't looking. They were coming to smash my pumpkins," Linda said, and honked the horn. "Yeah, screw off." "Babe," Ryan said, trying to get her to lay off the horn. "It's nearly 1 a.m. "I saw one of those bastards at the end of the driveway," Linda said, snarling out the word bastards. She put the car into motion again and flicked on the high beams to search for where she had last seen them dart into the woods. This time, she saw nothing. Linda drove another 30 feet before she turned the lights back onto the woods. "Keep looking," Linda said. "I saw something." "It's fine," Ryan groaned, rubbing his shoulder and thankful that he was wearing a seatbelt. "Probably just a deer." "And if it was a person?" Linda demanded. "Then do what the WhisperAlleyEchos said and stop putting out the pumpkins. It's a month until Halloween. They will get bored with it. Hell, get one of those plastic ones instead. It's cheaper that way." Linda was frustrated and didn't say another word as she continued searching. After a while, she gave up looking and returned home. Being the first to get in the house, she closed the bedroom door behind her. Ryan would have to sleep on the couch, it seemed. The next day, Ryan was called into work. The overtime was welcome, considering the previous night. He waited until lunch to call Linda to patch things up before he got home, but the line was busy. Ryan chalked this up to her gossiping to her friends on the phone, something she was doing every day for the last week. Ryan never understood how people could talk that much. Never seeing a reason to air his dirty laundry in public, Ryan didn't share this story to anyone at work. He was the silent type, exactly the thing that got Linda interested, and the thing that gets him in trouble with her the most. Before leaving work, he called a second time, and again there was no answer. This time, the line went to the machine. Ryan knew this meant she was pissed and nearly took a co-worker up on their offer to buy the first round. However, Ryan decided to go home. On the way back home, Ryan made one stop to pick up a plastic pumpkin to use instead of the real ones Linda kept spending all their money on. As Ryan walked in the front door, he saw that she was reading a book on the couch. When he asked why she didn't answer the phone, she shrugged but said nothing. Obviously, she was still mad. "Sorry about last night," Ryan said. At first, it was soft, but soon he started to talk at a normal volume. "I dozed off and I didn't take you seriously. I don't know what you saw, but I believe you when you said you saw someone. I got this," he said as he handed her the plastic pumpkin. Linda didn't take it, so Ryan set it on the couch arm so he could go fetch himself a hot cocoa in the kitchen. "It was those damn Presleys," Linda swore. That stopped Ryan in his tracks. "Why do you say so?" "There were 4 of them," Linda answered, her eyes back on the page of the book she was reading. "They ran to their farm." "Well, let's keep a cool head for now," Ryan said, making his way back to the kitchen. He knew Linda, and since she had something in her crosshairs, he had to step in quick before smashed pumpkins escalated into something more serious. Linda didn't say anything to this and went back to reading. In the silence, Ryan was afraid that she might already have done something. Linda started using the plastic pumpkin, and even though she could never admit it out loud, she was glad for it. With a little more peace of mind, she could shift her attention towards Halloween. She had pieced together a costume in her spare time for her and Ryan over the last year, and was looking forward to wearing it at the Halloween party. If there was going to be a contest at the small-town mixer, she was certain their zombie soldiers would win. Before leaving to go to the Halloween party, Linda made it a point to put out the real pumpkins, because it was Halloween, and beside it, a bowl of candy for any potential trick-or-treaters that might arrive. Being so far away in the woods, and being in a small town like Gray Hill, she wasn't expecting any. The party was small, but nice, and the two ended up getting 4th place, something that irritated Linda to no end because 4th place was total BS. The party ended early due to poor road conditions and the citywide curfew, so the couple was home at 7:15. The sun had already fallen from the sky, and Linda was drunk enough to think waiting out in the nearby bush for the Presleys was a good idea. Before they even got the truck in the parking lot, Linda was asking Ryan to join her. Ryan was also too drunk, just not drunk enough to join his wife, who was more drunk on anger for those who had hurt her favorite holiday. So he declined and went into the house. After making some instant coffee in the microwave and putting it in a thermos that matched the military look, Linda waited silently in the bushes that gave her a good line of sight to the direction of the most likely way the Presleys would come from. The light was off, but the candle in the jack-o'-lantern was lit and burned like a beacon on her porch in the cloudy night. Remembering that the article said not to bring a weapon, she wished she had taken her .22 with her. If she fired, the only people who would be around would be behind her. Even though she didn't think she would need it, she wished that she had it. It would make her more comfortable than the plastic gun she was holding from the Halloween party. She was nearing falling asleep when she heard a rustling. After a moment, she realized the noise wasn't coming from the Presleys' direction. It was to her right. That didn't make sense. Linda kept low to remain hidden. Those crafty Presleys were close. Linda froze there for a few long seconds and listened to every sound around her with suspicion. It wasn't long until Linda came to the conclusion that the Presleys had walked through the swamp. When the footfalls passed her, Linda held her breath for 5 seconds before she started to move. She was going to leap out and hit them with the pretend rifle she was holding for the Halloween party. She swore to God she would. Pushing herself off the ground, Linda half charged at what she thought was one of the Presleys. The other half was slowly realizing that she had no idea what in hell she was looking at. The tall, mangy things were at least 8 feet tall and covered in hair. It dawned on her that she was looking at Bigfoot. Bigfoot wasn't real. Linda kept coming up with reasons why it couldn't be Bigfoot, even though they turned to look at her and she was telling herself that whatever she was looking at had to be a costume. 2 people wore costumes in the swamp on a cold, wet Halloween night. That didn't make sense either. Linda wrestled with the possibility of Bigfoot's existence as she watched the 2 scamper away. Seeing how large they were, she was amazed they didn't lumber. Dumbstruck, Linda stood there, her mouth agape for a long moment before she decided to just go home. On the way back, she mulled over what she was going to tell everyone, including Ryan. She knew they would think she was crazy if she said anything. There were people in town who said they saw some strange things, and she always thought they were nuts. Making her way up the steps after taking off her boots and jacket, Linda slid into bed, hoping not to wake Ryan, who was fast asleep. She slept awkward, laying there, listening to Ryan snore less than 5 feet away, seeing a secret she would keep to herself for the rest of her life. Good evening, everyone. It's me, Dr. Plague. Thank you so much for joining me for tonight's story. I hope you enjoyed tonight's story, written by Narrow Muscles 9572. He's a pretty talented writer, and I doubt it's the last we'll be seeing of him on this channel. If you enjoy his work, why not check him out on Reddit? I've left a link below, so go give him a look. He's very talented. If you enjoyed tonight's story and you haven't already, why not go ahead and subscribe? Maybe hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the spooky things that we do here. While you're here, maybe go ahead and give that video a like and drop a comment. I like it when people comment. If you're not too spooked and you think you might can handle a little more, why not go ahead and click on one of those other videos that's about to pop up? Maybe check out one of our playlists. There's quite a few. If you'd like to support the channel more monetarily, I'd suggest maybe you go pick up a copy of my latest book. There's a link below. Or maybe head on over to Patreon. I have quite a few tiers. I'm sure there's one that'll suit you best. Speaking of Patreon, let's go ahead and thank our patrons, shall we? Thanks to Janet for being our Spooky Skeleton tier contributor. And thanks to Winters, Xaronan, Emily Coltsfoot, Martha, Marianne Schuler, Jennifer Damron, and Tyler Parker for being our Ghostly Reader tier contributors. Thanks, guys. We just couldn't do the show without you. If you're a fan of my books, I always recommend go ahead and join that Ghostly Reader tier. $10 a month, and it also gets you a book anytime I write one, which is around twice a year usually. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful evening.